CBD is certainly picking up. It's been dormant for so many years, but in the last 3-4 years, people have realized that this is an issue that is as important as climate change, perhaps more so. And we've got now a large body of opinion among governments, among civil society, even businesses concerned about the loss of biodiversity on various fronts, species, habitats, processes of the ecosystem. And I think there is now a real awakening. And the last 2 or 3 conferences of the parties have been much more aggressively looking at these things. Well, the big challenge is, of course, lack of awareness, lack of understanding of how grave this situation is. That's the biggest barrier to movement forward. But of course, there are lots of vested interests. There are lots of areas of concern with people who stand to benefit from exploiting species and lands and all the systems that the ecosystem has. So to some extent, the big barrier is what are we going to do in order to save life on Earth? And that costs money, and it deprives certain people of making money the way they have been making in the past. So these are the big barriers: lack of awareness and vested interest. COP11 in Hyderabad is going to be extremely important. It will be basically defining how to implement the goals that were adopted at the last one in Nagoya. And of course, India, being the host, will want to put its own stamp on the process and look at the future and how we're going to go forward on a larger scale. And there I think we will be basically looking at the issues of the green economy, of governance, of bigger issues on how the future of biodiversity is going to be conserved. Things that we haven't had a chance to talk about in the past. These are more systemic issues that will really make a difference in the long run. Well, they're at the moment deciding on that, and the government of India will of course have a lot of say in it. But the basic theme, I think, will be the global commons, and the governance of those will be the big theme. And underlying that will be the green economy. I mean, how do you change economic systems so they put more value on living resources? How do you change the economics so that people make decisions on the basis of real prices, real costs of losing a species or losing a forest? Well, you know, the global commons is a woolly word. It's a word which has fuzzy meaning in the sense that sometimes one really thinks of the global commons as the high seas or the atmosphere, which belong to everyone. But ultimately, the global commons is much more sophisticated than that. The species belong to the world. Knowledge, in fact, belongs to the world. And so the global commons in its wider sense is something that we're going to have to see more and more of in our international discussions. One particular global commons is biodiversity. And so it's a specific aspect of the bigger global commons debate. And I think it's one of the most important ones. It's also one that underlies the survival of life on our planet. Of course, the opportunity for a country that has such big, is so rich in resources, is to make use of them for its people, for creating livelihoods, for creating jobs, and creating incomes which can better the lives of people. So there is a straightforward opportunity that any good resource, but particularly the bioresources, can give. But in addition to that, India has a responsibility. Being a mega diverse country, these resources, if we are to be believed that they belong to the global commons, they belong to the world, and so we have a responsibility to make sure that they don't get destroyed. So with the opportunities and rights that we have for utilizing these resources to better the lives of our people, we also have a major responsibility to make sure that they are healthy and do not get destroyed. So the costs of doing that have to be offset by the benefits. And I think India is one of those countries that culturally is capable of understanding this, is able to see its role in the world as one of being a trustee, a guardian of global resources as well. It hasn't done that in the past, but I hope that the next generation will be much more tuned to that.